So, this week on Islam Chats, we are looking at intercultural transitions and the physical changes that different cultures go through or could potentially go through, and then the non physical impacts that can come from it. So, to start off, we want to talk about voluntary and involuntary migrants. So, voluntary migrants are either immigrants or sojourners that move by choice. So, sojourners are only temporary inhabitants, while immigrants are looking for a prolonged stay with the host culture. On the flip side, involuntary migrants are known as refugees due to the fact that they are moving by force. Outside influences are making their previous home too dangerous to continue living in, and they are therefore forced to move and are considered refugees. In relation to Muslim immigrants, an example would be Islamic families moving to the States to start a new life versus refugees fleeing to European countries to avoid terrorists and domestic violence. Next, we're going to chat about migrants in the Muslim community. In a journal written by Francis Outram, he talks about the transition and perspective of Islamic immigrants over the past decade. In summary, Outram describes the process of Islamic migration and how the intent has changed as times have gotten progressively worse in the Middle East. At the beginning of the war on terrorism, refugees from the Middle East scrambled to escape into European and American countries while the issues in their home states were being resolved. However, as the effects of terrorism worsened and more immigrants saw refugee, the concept of immigration began to change. This transformation or transition led to more refugees from Islamic countries seeking citizenship in the Western world rather than temporary shelter. Outram then explains how these host countries have begun to create programs and transitional plans for these immigrants to integrate themselves into their countries permanently. So then, once a migration of a sort has taken place, there are different types of migrant-host relationships that can occur. And the first we're going to talk about is separation. So separation is a type of cultural adaptation in which an individual retains his or her original culture while integrating or interacting minimally with other groups. Separation can be a choice. It is not always a bad thing. Some people choose to separate themselves to preserve their cultures and traditions. An example of this is something that set Islamic people apart from others, so such as wearing a hijab or worshiping in a mosque. So those are aspects of separation. Islam views society as an association that is formed in accordance with the divine law with the purpose of harmonious and peaceful coexistence. The divine revelation in the Quran constitutes the foundation of social order in Islamic society. This is their way of separation within their own society. So next is integration. Integration occurs when migrants have interest in both maintaining their original culture and language and in having interactions with other groups. This differs from assimilation in that it involves a greater interest in maintaining one's own cultural identity. Islamic men and women can join other cultures and live all around the world while maintaining their Islamic beliefs and staying on their religious journeys. Muslims can be accepting of others' differences in customs, traditions, and ways of life while still maintaining their own. Muslims can integrate with other cultures by participating in social and community activities. Muslims can continue to participate in their Islamic faith while integrating with other cultures. Migrant communities can resist assimilation in many ways, but integration depends on the openness and willingness of those in the dominant society to accept and accommodate the cultures of others. Thank you so much for joining us this week on Islam Chats. We cannot wait to see you next week to hear more about culture and cultural communication.